Looks like people are signing on. Hey everyone.
Hello.
Hi Jocelyn.
Hi.
Have we have we met?
No, I don't believe so.
Thanks for joining. Where are you
Sure.
located?
I'm in Laurel.
Laurel.
hmm
How long you been in Laurel?
about 3 years.
That's what's up. How'd you hear about us?
The internet. I was doing some research regarding doing a threading business, and I located Miracle Eyebrows and clicked on the link and kind of went from there.
Oh, cool. So essentially what we're doing today is we'll just go ahead and get started. Um, is we're just walking through the team, which some people are late. So I'm the founder, um, and co-founder, and my name is Thomas Calhoun Jr. I'm not sure if you found me on Facebook or where you found this. Was it YouTube or Google Plus? Did you find the link?
Um, I spoke to an individual and they sent me an email and
Got it.
they sent me information and the info.
Okay. Cool. So I guess
Rafi, I think his name was.
what's his name?
Rafi?
Oh, okay. Well, good. The word is spreading about what we're doing. I'm gonna share my screen really quickly. And what kind of business were you trying to start?
This is a eyebrow business for threading.
Oh, threading eyebrows. I never seen a black person thread eyebrows before. It's usually like
I don't want to
Indian.
thread it. I don't want to
Huh?
do it. I
You don't
don't
want to do the
actually.
threading?
No, I don't want to do it myself.
Good
I
for
just want
you.
to own. I just want to own one of the. I want to own a few of the businesses that actually do the threading.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, Jocelyn. So this is our current landing page. And so the big vision for Nafasi was to connect people like yourself who are interested in entrepreneurship to folks who are practitioners and um, other entrepreneurs and investors and mentors that can help them solve their problems in entrepreneurship. So um, I'm not sure exactly what stage you are in your business, but we also have been providing coaching for people who want to start a business and helping them, kind of get off the ground.
Mhm.
Uh, so that's kind of how we have been getting started so far. And then we built a platform to sort of support that coaching.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and then beyond that, we will begin the process of being able to connect people to the right resources through the platform itself. But we do that kind of just through our own network today. So we got started about really we got started like 2 years ago. I used a Word document and I just kind of got worked with a bunch of entrepreneurs, and then from there I grew the platform, built the first prototype, and since then we've been sort of hyper focused on um, providing support for entrepreneurs, and then using that support to grow the platform. So what you see here is just a landing page. We want to partner with historically black colleges and universities that have a meeting this Wednesday with North Carolina A&T, and those partnerships will allow us to create the kind of innovation ecosystem that is necessary to get Black people the resources they need to run their business, right? So, um, I don't know if what you know about innovation ecosystems in Silicon Valley and startups in general, but um, only 1% or less than 1% of venture capital goes to African American startups, and of course, even less than that goes to African American women who run startups.
I
So,
believe it.
yeah. So one of the things that we're trying to do is give them the support they need to get to um, a point where they can, get venture capital or just grow the business on their own without it. So
Have you done Norfolk State yet?
I went to Norfolk State, and so I just got back from there in July, and we're going to be starting to partner in September.
Okay, that's where I graduated from.
Oh, okay, that's probably the connection. So, when did you graduate?
In 2006.
Oh, okay. So I graduated in 2000. Um, and your major was business?
No, it was political science.
Okay.
hmm
So I'll log in really quickly. Here's a team. Scroll down.
wait a minute. So, because this is getting confusing for me. Am I like connecting two things that aren't related? Like,
Which one? What
I
thing?
don't
What two
know. Like,
things?
I guess I'm just confused on how I came across this, and then the individual that I spoke to. But then you're saying you're from Norfolk State, which I'm a part of the chapter in the DMV area. So now I'm wondering if I got your contact information from that, and it has nothing to do with the eyebrow situation. It's just the coincidence that I'm talking to you.
Oh, I think you probably got my information from the Alumni Association.
Okay.
But it is a coincidence that you're interested in running a business. So maybe somebody knew that you were interested in running a business and sent you this information.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna figure it out though. But no, continue.
Yeah. So anywho, I'll log in. I'll log in. Hey, Cancer.
Hey man, can you
How's
hear
it
me?
going, buddy?
Good, thanks you.
Pretty good. Hey, Cancer.
Hello. Hey man, can you
How's
hear
it
me?
going, buddy?
Good, thanks you.
Pretty good. So this is like my profile page. It's basically like a LinkedIn concept, um, and it talks about what I've done in the past, some different projects I've worked on, the people I collaborated with. So rather than just having random connections with people that you don't really know or work with at all, we only allow you to connect with people you're actually working with on a project or an idea. Um, and I met Kanshu at University of Virginia, where I got my master's, and and I'm glad he's on the line. And here's the publication that we had from that my grad school
Very nice.
work, my graduate work, and then the startup sector interests are just the type which sectors that I'm interested in creating a startup or I'm interested in viewing other startups. And let's see, these are the projects that I work on, volunteer, and then my collaborators, and then these are things I can apply for. So if I'm a developer, I can actually link my GitHub profile or other um, profiles. Investors can link their AngelList profile to us, and then you can apply to be a mentor on the platform to help other entrepreneurs. Or you can be like Kanshu, who's a researcher and has all this research experience, and he can help people with providing deep domain knowledge in probably the fintech space, I imagine, finance. Can't you still doing finance?
Yes, I am.
Financial engineering?
Well, pure finance. Can you hear me?
No?
Oh.
So essentially, Nafasi is like an ed tech platform today, and eventually we'll be moving into fintech if we are lucky and we continue to grow. Um, so today you can actually discover ideas from other startups and business owners. This is the guy I went to graduate school with. Um, this guy I met in Miami recently. This is a local cheesecake. If you're into cheesecake, Jocelyn, this is really good cheesecake. Um, and just other startups that I found. So on the ideas section, these are all the ideas that I either came up with on my own or that I'm working with other people on today remotely. And so the goal of the platform is really to be able to work with people wherever they are in terms of helping them develop their business model, connecting them to other people, and getting their idea off the ground so that they can present well to investors potentially or other partners. So I'll move over onto mine. Let me go to just my Nafasi idea. So this is just like the idea profile page, so to speak, and you can come here and develop the idea. And this is where it becomes like an ed tech platform because I've completed it, but you can learn to think through your idea, and we ask different questions related to the idea so that you can actually think through the idea effectively and then communicate it to um, a potential partner or investor effectively. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts?
Mhm.
Um, so the goal is really to think through the idea. A lot of people just like come up with an idea and then try to go start a business with the state and then try to raise capital or do whatever and get started, and they haven't really thought through, the key components to business, which is like what problem are you solving? Who are your customers going to be? What are your distribution channels? Things of that nature. And so we basically have co-opted some of the lean startup methodology um, to use within the process so that you can think through the idea more effectively. Going forward, though, we will be helping people um, with not only business model development, but also pitch coaching because being able to pitch your idea to, hey, Jimmy, um, to potential investors is really, really, really important. And also, going to pitch contests is really important as well because that's how a lot of um, people who actually can't raise capital, which tends to be African Americans or Black people and Latinos and women in general, um, usually they raise a lot of capital on the pitch circuit, and then that's what they use to kind of grow their business. So if they don't have the money on their own. Um, how many people here are familiar at all with like the startup world?
With the what?
Anyone? The startup world.
Oh, I don't know.
The Kanshu, is that you that said a little?
Yeah. I don't know if my
So
microphone is working properly.
it isn't or is?
It isn't. But I'm listening.
Oh, okay. So as it turns out, like Kanshu, I mentioned earlier that like African Americans and Latinos are only receiving about less than 1% of venture capital
Yeah.
annually. So it makes it difficult to get your ideas off the ground if you happen to fit in that category. And women are getting slightly more just because, of course, some women aren't African American or Latino. So, um, but it's still like maybe 5% or something or less. So it's still like critically low. Um, and so what we're just trying to do is, and there's another big issue, and that is, so Techstars, if you ever heard of an accelerator, Techstars is like one of the top two. I think Y Combinator is probably number one. And recently I applied to Techstars, but I didn't get in. And I found out just by happenstance, because I was in the right place at the right time, that the reason I didn't get in is because I didn't have already have 50 or $100,000 in revenue. So, and the point is, like, people who can generate that kind of revenue often don't need an accelerator,
Yeah.
or they're just pretty much at that point pouring gasoline on the fire. So, which pretty much makes Techstars an investor more than an actual accelerator. Um, so the whole point is, though, but these are the top two accelerators, but all of the goodies that they provide, which is, connections, capital, community, mentorship, things of that nature, they're like more selective than like Harvard, and they brag about it, both Y Combinator and Techstars. So then it makes it really difficult if you don't have access to those things to actually get to that level of revenue to get in. So there's just a lot of barriers. Moreover, you often have to like physically move to those areas to go. Like there's Techstars in Atlanta, there's one in Colorado, which I think that found them. And they have a few all over the world. But a lot of people can't give up their job to go pursue their idea. So there's a lot of entrepreneurship going on, and it makes it really difficult to get your idea off the ground. So the goal here is to put all the resources in one place online so that you can kind of get your idea off the ground from wherever you are. You just need an idea and an internet connection. Um, does that make sense to anyone or everyone? One person
Mhm.
at least?
Makes sense.
No, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's just really like I said on the landing page, it's democratizing entrepreneurship, right? So again, you shouldn't need more than an idea and an internet connection at this in this stage of the game um, to get your idea at least to the point where people can notice it. And so, Kenshu, you missed the part where I was saying that what we've been doing in the beginning is just kind of helping entrepreneurs on our own, and that's how we've been making money, and um, and mentoring and coaching them on our own, and using the platform as just a tool to facilitate that process, um, and using that whole process to actually grow the platform till we get to the critical mass. But the goal state is to partner with institutions of higher learning, particularly those that have minority talent, because there's also this huge, I hate the word minority, black and Latino talent, because Silicon Valley has what they call a 2% problem, and all what that means is about on average the big companies that we all know and love, like Facebook, Twitter, bappity bappity bap, those companies um, typically they'll have like less than 2% quote unquote minorities and less than 2% women, 2% or less, and so it's basically a white male dominated area region, and so particularly in the tech space, right?
Yeah.
So what we are attempting to do is to also democratize access to those jobs or just opportunities for Black and Latino individuals. But we don't obviously discriminate against people based on race. We just are targeting certain people. So one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you, Kanshu, was because I imagine that every school in Africa is an HBCU as far as university,
Yeah.
and so I think that there are approximately 1.8 billion um, people in sort of the African and Latino diaspora, and so that's kind of why I'm trying to avoid using the word minorities, because if we think on a global perspective, um, they're really not a minority,
Yeah.
and so um, and since the world is flat, we have no reason not to think on a global perspective. So that's why we named it Nafasi, which is Swahili for opportunity, um, because we really wanted to connect the entire diaspora and not just stay focused on the states.
Okay. I didn't know that.
You didn't know what? I'm sorry.
I didn't know it wasn't focused only on the states.
No, not at all. Like the goal, I mean, I don't have access, so the goal is to try to make connections with folks who do have access to the universities abroad.
Okay.
But the goal is to connect as many young, and not just young, but people who are interested in um, creating a startup wherever they are, and as long as they have internet access. My research says that roughly about 339 million people in Africa on the continent that have access to internet. So that's probably those are the only people we could service, right? Um,
So Thomas, I have a question.
sure.
So how much does it matter the person has access only on their phone versus, like a laptop access? So a lot of people just
Exactly.
access on,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that question. So the goal, um, long term, is to have a pure mobile strategy,
Okay.
a pure mobile. But right now we're mobile responsive.
Okay.
So it's just these fields, like if you had a phone or a tablet or something, these fields may be a little bit more difficult to fill out because it's just a lot of information.
Sure.
Um, so that's why we were targeting like universities at first because they're more likely to have like an actual laptop or
Yeah.
computer. Um, and then as we spread out and we gain traction, then we can build a mobile app. But there's another play that we want to have that we requires a mobile app. We could talk about that later, like downstream. Imagine being at a concert and you have an idea, and I figure if they're like, and I'm glad Ken was on the line. What's the probability if there's 15,000 people at a concert that somebody else has either a similar idea or is interested in working
Oh,
on
that's
something like that?
possible. Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
certainly
Yeah.
possible, right? You know what I mean? And so I think that if we actually just knew to make it more efficient to find people who could help us on our ideas, we could leverage mobile technology to do
Okay.
that. Uh, so that's one of the big reasons why we definitely want to have a mobile play. Plus the fact that emerging economies like Africa or Brazil um, would probably access the internet on their
Yeah.
phone. So it's something that we know. We just have to get there. Um, and the thing about mobile, just to put a finer point on that, the thing about doing anything on mobile is you really want to have population density.
Yep.
So even if we had like a million people on the platform, but they're all spread out across the world or just the states, it's not as good as having a million people in DC.
Sure. You want to
So
connect people, right?
yeah, because you want to connect people and stuff. So it's really important that um, we gain some traction. Which probably the U.S. would be best for that.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, like a lot of the ads and things that we're running on Facebook, the majority of people that have been signing up lately have been um, in Africa.
Okay. That's good.
so so people are signing up. It's just a matter of engaging and things of that nature. But great question. Anybody else have any other questions?
So what is
Shimmy,
it, just like a website that we go to, like LinkedIn, and we just create an account, like create a username and password and like go from there?
yes, it's free to join. And if you want to just use the self-directed, then it's completely free. But if you want support, then that's what we charge for.
Mm.
Yeah. So I
But the
mean,
fees and things are on the website.
yeah, everything is there. I mean, we only charge for actual coaching, which is $395. But
Mm.
that's it for now. um, so this is the new landing page that I'm working on. I haven't finished yet. I need to change that photo or edit that photo. This photo isn't working well. But the new landing page will be more geared towards what we'll be doing. Um, and I have several meetings set up to focus on universities. So you may not have known, I did a event. So two events I've done recently. One has been the Thurgood Marshall College Fund has a innovation boot camp and hackathon. We did that event in May, and went really well, really well. And there was a team there in like maybe 30 hours that built a visual search engine. So they were taking pictures and actually going out to the internet, figuring out what it was. So um, are doing great things. Um, what else? And they end up getting a trip to the Apple conference, which is a big deal. It's like harder than the Super Bowl to get tickets for that. Um, and then recently I just pitched at the Miller Lite pitch contest, and unfortunately I didn't win, but I got second place. That Damon John hosts, and so he even like introduced me to some people, and I've been in contact with them to try to gain his trust and maybe get investment from him. So that would be dope if I'm able to do that. So we're growing in regards to um, exposure, and that's happening like over the last few months really fast. Um, and Jocelyn and me will be at the Black Alumni Network in Crystal City this Saturday.
Oh,
They're
okay.
having a Black Alumni Networking Expo in Crystal City this Saturday, and we'll be presenting there as well. We had a booth there last year, but it was just kind of a testing to see. So we're getting more
Are you
serious.
able to send me the link for that?
Sure thing. I don't make sure that can y'all use the chat window? Is that set up? Let me make sure.
Well,
I
Let me
don't
see.
know.
I'm in
I'm
the
on my cell
chat
phone.
window at the moment.
Oh yeah, looks like so Justin, here's the link to the site, and then let me find the other uh, uh, black, yeah. It's just blackalumninetworkingexpo.com, but I'll post it here. Yeah, there you go. So so far, what have we gone over? We've gone over Wes is part of the team. Wesley Cuffey. He's like my co-founder and friend of 30 some odd years. He's way older than me though. Um, um,
Stay positive.
stay positive. So, um, let me see. So here are some of the challenges that we're facing. One is, of course, it just so happens that I'm a black male. So, um, uh, I'm raising capital. It's been a challenge, although I am in talks with one um, investor um, who's been really helpful, actually. And here's a great thing to know: if you want investment from people who have been playing this game, then ask for advice. And if you want advice, then ask for money. So,
Hello?
um, hello. So yeah, I've only asked him for advice. I haven't really asked him for money yet. We'll see what happens when I do. So beyond that, um, I think I shared with everyone that there's a huge opportunity in terms of the global diaspora. Um, and what I need from everyone that happened to show up for the call is, first of all, if we share things on Facebook and you see it, to share it. Um, Also, if you have access to large communities of people that may want to, or even anyone for that matter, but especially large communities. So, like you, can't you, back at your home school, um, and are you staying at UVA for good, or are you going back?
No, I'm here for 5 months. I go back in January.
Oh, you go back in January. Okay. So, does your school, and you're at Cape Town, right? University
Yeah,
of Cape Town?
yeah.
Does your school promote like entrepreneurship at all, or no?
They do, especially social entrepreneurship.
Exactly. I'm glad you. That's a great segue. Ken Chu was my TA. He was the TA extraordinaire, right? He made everyone. No one else wanted any other TA. So check. So this subdomain CITE site.nafasi.co, which was called City. I think I might co-opt that. It's a great name. So the goal of this subdomain is to discuss like social issues that um, we can be solved through entrepreneurship. So it stands for Campus and Community Improvement through Entrepreneurship. And one of the biggest challenges, of course, in the states, the HBCUs face is funding, like black startups and everything else. So um, that's one of the things that I wanted to help focus on by giving students the opportunity or empowering them to think through some of the problems and challenges they're having on campus, and then start companies based on them. So that's kind of part of the genesis of this portion of it. And here you can see all the HBCU campuses. But they're also, I'm not sure if you know this, but there's something called MSI, which stands for Minority Serving Institution. I hate the word minority, but in this case, it's good because, for example, Arizona State University is a minority serving institution, or the University of Hawaii is actually a minority serving institution. So by broadening our scope in that way, we have we can eventually over time gain access to some of those universities if we hustle. Um, so here's the community innovation piece, and we just want to like Flint is still having issues with water. They're having other issues besides just the water. We all know about the police brutality, foolishness. So it's not really clear what startups can do with that. But I think we really need to understand how economics plays a role in it, because the one thing that all the people that have been sort of murdered by the police and all these situations that we've seen, the one thing they have in common besides being black, and not all of them are black, but many of them are, is that they're all poor. That's the one thing they all have in common, right? And so poverty is a big indicator for crime and, unfortunately, police brutality. So um, again, economics can be a big help in improving those situations. So, Kanshu, I'm not exactly sure. Can you tell us some of the issues that share with me the one issue you brought up a while ago with me about some things that are going on campus at your school?
So our campus is full of students who just cannot afford to be there, and the education is quite cheap in dollar terms. So, for example, at UVA, if you're an in-state student, you pay about 14,000. In South Africa, you pay probably about 4,000, and it's
Oh
a
wow,
highly ranked university, ranked higher than UVA. But most students
really?
cannot. Yeah. So to give an example, I had a student email me about 2 weeks ago, and he needed to take a ID photo to get into residence, and he couldn't afford the $4 to take an ID photo, right? And
Wow.
by getting into residence, it means he doesn't have to take a public taxi. We call it taxi, but it's not like a taxi. It's like a minivan that's quite dangerous. That takes a long time to get to campus. It stays about 50 kilometers away, and it saves a lot of time by him staying on campus if he gets into residence. But he couldn't afford the $4 to take that ID photo so he can, get into res. So money and funding is a big thing in South African universities at the moment. And South Africa has an unemployment rate of 26%. So if anyone can solve how students could be funded, I mean, that would be great, right?
That's huge, right? But now, I guess the question I would ask is why couldn't they do like a GoFundMe, or that's like the immediate thing I would think of.
So that's where, well, the students themselves often come from very rural areas, and they are not savvy in those kind of things, right? So students generally won't be able to do it. Well, what we are thinking of is the university itself doing it, and the university is doing some kind of stuff like that, but not enough. And there's also tax implications. So it's the way we
Oh,
do it.
is
So
it?
yeah, I'm trying to figure that out myself, because I'm trying to raise funds for the one school in the university, right? Which is the biggest school probably in the university. And if we can, I mean, if once I figure out the tax issues, maybe it'll become easier.
So I think that we just heard this problem that is um, not it's not really unfamiliar, right? It's just on a different scale.
Yeah,
Um, but this the same HBCUs in the states, and the people, unfortunately, that attend them in many cases, especially nowadays, don't have the same issues. Um, in terms of not being able to afford it. But here in the states, we have this sort of debt mechanism that
yeah.
you can get into that can make it even a greater problem downstream.
Yeah, you tie
Um,
down for life, right?
yeah, exactly. Um, so I think there was at the TMCF conference, there was a guy who came up with an idea for the debt situation here, and I don't remember exactly what the details of it was. I was judging another competition, but I know there was an idea about that. So one of the things that we need to do, and I can take a step back here at the I don't say macro, but the big picture here is we're building a virtual innovation ecosystem, and so essentially an innovation ecosystem is has three main components, and they are ideas, talent, and capital. So if you think of the major, so at a macro level, you can think of the whole world or the United States or Africa or China or anywhere as an innovation ecosystem. But if you come down slightly, a smaller scale, a innovation ecosystem could be like Silicon Valley. So Silicon Valley is like the major innovation ecosystem in America. All right, Boston is another major innovation ecosystem because of Harvard and MIT.
Yeah.
Um, Austin, Texas is blowing up. Most of you have probably heard of South by Southwest, and so that's
Yep.
kind of turning into a big deal. And so the key component of one of the things, the patterns I noticed when I started researching this is that they all are surrounded by universities. So wherever there's like a top university or universities in general, you have the opportunity to have this innovation ecosystem. So, but what I also noticed was that tech stars and these top universities or what there's no tech stars in West Baltimore or in the South Side of Chicago or even in Norfolk, Virginia, where I'm from. So, but there is a lot of crime and there are HBCUs. And so, what I'm trying to do is to get those HBCUs to try to build up an innovation ecosystem is impossible because they don't have enough funding as it stands. So the game plan is to build it up virtually and then connect everybody, which will give us access to the research and all the great things that Kenshu is teaching the students to do over there and his depth of knowledge, as well as um, he has access to things that people are doing over here. And that makes it a global innovation ecosystem and much more efficient than um, having to get up and move and go to Africa or go to Silicon Valley because who can afford that? So that's what we're trying to provide: ideas, talent, and capital. And so the more ideas we get on the platform, the more talent we get on the platform, then the more likely we are to attract the kind of capital that can invest in said ideas.
Yep.
But where do these ideas come from? And so the reason why we created city or site.nafasi.co is because we need to know what the problems are that people are facing so that we can generate ideas around those problems. So none of us before now knew the issue that Kanshu had raised, and we wouldn't have known. And Kanshu may not know who can solve that problem. It just so happens that he does know me, and he reached out to me on Facebook one day and asked me about it. So the key is how can he connect to people who care about those types of issues and are willing to work on them for and build sustainable solutions. And that and it's not very efficient. I don't know. Can't you how effective has your search been to help get those problems solved?
Not easy, right?
It's very difficult. Even though Facebook has 1 billion people and there's LinkedIn, it's still hard to
Because there's
find
no
people to help
focus.
solve problems. There's no focus on either one of those platforms,
Yeah.
right? Facebook is like an ashtray. Anything goes, right? You know what I mean? And so, um, and LinkedIn is like the Wild Wild West, right? So what we're trying to do is be very focused, hyper focused. So we're not probably never have 1 billion people on it, but we want to be hyper focused on exchanging ideas. And if we can do that, there's a lot of money at play. Um, so those are the major things that I wanted to discuss with everyone. We will be running our own Indiegogo soon, so please share it. um, other than that, if you don't have any other questions, or do you have any other questions first?
I have a question.
Hey, Jawan, long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So you mentioned that the problems that you're trying to solve, the ecosystems, right? The ideas, people bring their ideas to an ecosystem where they can get talent from and basically get investment in the long run. So with your platform, right, you're solving two problems, right? You're giving people a platform to develop their ideas as well as connect with individuals, basically to build up the talent for to push the idea forward. How about the third
Yeah.
component of the capital? How do you intend to solve that problem on the platform,
Right.
right? Because yeah.
So, were you finished?
No, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So let me go back to my profile. Um, sorry. Um, so if you see here, there's an investor certification that we built in, and we haven't really gone haywire on a lot of this because we're starting at the beginning, right? We got to get ideas
Mhm.
first. But if you click it, an investor in theory can connect, put their LinkedIn homepage, and we internally have to approve anybody who signs up to be certified as an investor or a developer or any of these things on a platform. So we have to approve it, so we have the final say. So we use AngelList because AngelList already has all the tools to determine whether or not someone can be an investor. And so our ultimate goal is to attract investors who are most likely to not be put off by investing in a black or Latino startup. um, and in theory, they may be black or Latino, but we don't really care who they are because if they want to invest, they want to invest. So the goal long term is to be able to attract angel investors to the platform um, by having being the best, having ideas on the platform and being generated. Another thing that I have been emailing Tyler Scriven, who you can Google. He is the managing director of Techstars Atlanta,
Mhm.
and I've been trying to work with him to to get him to pony up the list of people who got in. So just past Techstars Atlanta cattle call, there were like over 600 applicants worldwide, and only five of them were black, and which is kind of sad. Now, I was one of those five, so um, none of us got accepted though. So I said to him, "Why don't you give us the people that you did accept and give us the pool of applicants, and then we'll figure out um, using either classification trees or some other data analysis technique um, to determine what's the criteria that is getting people into Techstars, aside from just having revenue or whatever." And so he was like, "That's a really interesting idea," and then never got back to me. But the goal is to be able to push more people through the pipeline. This, which is, getting into incubators, getting into accelerators, getting angel investment, things of that nature. So it's kind of the last phase that we have to have, because if we don't have any ideas, then no investors will be on the platform anyway. So,
Mhm.
um, but the goal is to get investment ourselves. Ideally, we would like to be our own fund, like way long term, um, so that we can invest in some of the ideas on the platform too. Because if we're helping them, it just makes sense to be connected in a way that we can be make money that way as well. So I don't know if that answers. That's kind of a lot. Did I answer your question, or do you have more specific questions?
No, no. I mean, it definitely answered the question. I mean, on the high level plan, you're basically trying to help people develop their idea to the point where they can take it to the next level and get into like an incubator or an accelerator,
Right.
already having their idea solidified, being narrowly focused. right? Hopefully having maybe some kind of MVP and show some kind of revenue before
Right.
getting to that next step. So yeah. So
Yeah, the key
yeah,
is if it's a tech product, right, and having, like you said, an MVP, then making sure that their MVP is like they understand what an MVP is, and they're not trying to build out a whole, you know, system and things of that nature. So I think just the exposure and the education, as I said in my pitch, if you have a failure to communicate, which is that's why we built CITE.nafasi.co, a failure to educate, which is what we have on the platform today, and a failure to activate, which is connecting them to the right resources. So it is really a three-tier process, and we just need to teach, communicate to people that there are problems that they can't solve for money, and then educate them on how to do that, and then try to connect them as best we can to the resources. So I think, again, downstream, another revenue opportunity is partnering with other investment angel funds or accelerators who are looking for diverse talent, quote unquote diverse, right? Whatever that means these days. So um, that that is a great question, and it is on the roadmap, but it's just kind of hard to get there without accomplishing some of the other things first. Especially if we haven't gotten capital. So once we are able to get capital, then we will have investors in tow, right?
yep.
So then we'll go be able to go back and say, hey, here's another one, right? So I just think that the major proof of concept is us raising the capital that we need. Um, I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And it gets interested, right? Because there are definitely some investors that focus in certain areas than others, like tech, healthcare,
Right.
financial startups, and whatnot. So just as you grow, you'll be able to definitely focus on different avenues to attract investors to potential Nafasi customers, right?
Yeah, I think right now we're an ed tech platform, right? With a LinkedIn component, right? Um, and we want to grow that piece out first because I think that's kind of the communication and the ed tech is the biggest um, gap, right? I think there's so many people that really just don't even understand the basic Lean Campus. So just doing that alone, there's money to be made. In the pitch contest that I was in, there was only there's like 15,000 people applied, and they only chose the top 30.
Wow.
And so we were in the top 30. And so then that semifinal round, there were five people in my region. And the first three, I was the fourth person to go. The first three were like okay ideas, but they weren't like I wonder what some of the other ideas were that they got into the top 30, right? And they were good ideas, but then they didn't pitch them well, and they didn't talk through them well, and so it made me realize that there's still an opportunity to help people um, in that regard, just like thinking through the business model of what they're doing, whatever the idea is, and thinking where the money is, and being able to answer the questions appropriately. Like there's a lot of money just right there. So uh, I think we can be profitable prior to even getting to what you're talking about with the angel investors.
Cool.
Any more questions?
How can we
Well,
help you?
can't you? Yeah. So like I said, we'll be having an Indiegogo campaign in probably a month or so, or a few weeks. Um, that's one thing. I actually can get into an accelerator. Um, can't you? That Jacob is in an accelerator right now. Can't you? Out in
Okay.
Colorado, and I could get into that accelerator, but I need to find one person to go with me, right? And my partner can't go because he has some obligations here in DC. And so I'm trying to find yet another partner to spend 3 months with me in Colorado. And so I have a really good shot at getting in. and that would be $20,000 in capital right there.
Wow.
So those are the things that the current ecosystem does not take into consideration when they think about, you know, how we talked about doing systems analysis,
Yeah.
and really understanding the people part of it.
Yeah.
The current ecosystem just wasn't built for the the type of diversity they claim to want to support. So, and it's not just a rate ethnicity issue; it's just a cultural issue. Um, and so we have to figure out a way around that. But if anybody could help me find a really qualified, talented, hardworking person who doesn't have anything to do for the next 3 months, that would be great.
So
Um,
what kind of skills will you be looking for? I mean, so there are
for
lots of
that
young people
position,
who are interested, who have lots of, I mean, who have a lot of time, right? But but whether they have the right skills is another question.
yeah. So I think that in this particular case, it could be a developer
Okay.
um, with Rails experience. Um, but I don't know that we need a ton of development, but that could work. It could be someone who has relationship building skills, like maybe an MBA type.
Okay.
Um, so it really, at this stage, like it just needs to be somebody who has attitude and has the startup mentality, is willing to put in a lot of hours, and can get shit done. Bottom line up front,
Okay.
whatever it is we do, because like all of us are like the janitor and everybody. um, so,
And is
but
there a
those are like
timeline for that?
primary things. I think so. The application was due 2 Wednesdays ago, and the guy got back to me on his vacation and said, "Hey, can you tell me who else you would be bringing with you?" That's the one thing that stands out in your application.
Okay.
So I told him I would be on the lookout for someone, but that's kind of where I am.
Okay.
So that's kind of the immediate term things. But um, other than that, Kenshu, how can we engage with you at your university? Um, can you breed some skids there?
Well, I have to let me think about it. I mean, I think there is a need at my university over there, right? It's a great
Yeah.
opportunity to link the university to this. I just need to know the right way to do it because there's a lot of pitch that happens at our university, and it's become a policy where we push all pitches aside because we can't favor one over the other, right? But
Right.
but there must be an opportunity to link it, right? So I know really good young students who are really into entrepreneurship, who want to get going, but they don't have quite the mentorship or the know-how how to start because they just straight fresh out of university.
Yeah. Well, even if we didn't like have an official relationship, how could you be like an ambassador to some of the students that you're thinking of?
Can you say that again? This breaking up
Um,
a
e-
little.
and, oh, I'm sorry. Even if we don't have like an official relationship with the university, could you be like an ambassador for some of the students that you're speaking of?
Sure, of course.
Right. Okay. Well, we can talk more offline. Does anyone else have questions? Okay. Well, with that, thanks for everyone kind of coming out and joining the hangout. It was really cool to have you. Kenshu, we should connect. I should come down to Charlottesville and we'll have lunch or something, dinner, chat.
Can, can you say that again? Sorry, there's some sort of feedback that's happening that's breaking up the conversation.
Is everybody on mute? All right. So Kenshu, I was saying I should come to Charlottesville and we can get lunch or dinner.
Yeah, let's do that. Or I'll come up to DC. I'm away for the next 2 weeks, but after that I'm back.
Okay. Well, let me know when you get back. Do you have a phone yet?
Yes, I do. Sorry, I thought I had sent it to you. I'll send it to you
No.
now.
Okay. Send it on Facebook so I have it. Don't put it in the chat.
Okay.
It'll be gone. Mo Ross, I'll call you after we get off. All right, guys. Thank you.
Oh,
I'll
thanks.
chat with
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks so much.
All right.